Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition of the Mavpuckcast. Thank you for tuning in after this weekend's games. John, we've had a chance to kind of sit on this. How are you feeling right now?
This is a tough kind of streak that the team's going through. There's a lot of hockey fan group therapy going on online, which always seems to happen. Mavpuck.com celebrates its 25th anniversary in January. And obviously, it started off as a website with a message board. And so, as you can imagine, I've read a lot of this stuff over the years. There's a lot of hand wringing, a lot of second guessing. It's not a lot of fun, but here we are. But before we get to the weekend series that just happened against Western Michigan, we'd like to thank our founding members for their support of Mavpuck.com and the Mavpuckcast this season. As I'm talking to you, you are seeing a scroll of their names on the screen. You'll also see our founding members at the end of this episode and each episode of the Mavpuckcast this season. And if you would like to donate and support Mavpuck.com, visit Mavpuck.com/donate. All right, Jason, the Western Michigan series.
We were dig into this now.
Yeah, we were on a 4-game losing streak coming in. We'd lost series against Augustana at Baxter Arena and against Mankato up in Mankato, Minnesota. So we lost 4 straight to 2 CCHA teams. So this series against Western Michigan was our first conference action, our first NCHC action of the season. So in addition to wanting to get back on the positive side of the win-loss column, we were also hoping to gain 6 big conference points. For those who aren't familiar, you get 3 points for each conference win. So a lot at stake on the line to get off to a good start in that conference race, Jason.
Yeah, points are hard to come by, especially in the first half of the season, because you don't see very many NCHC teams. So you really kind of have to capitalize on those opportunities when you get them. And, this was a Western Michigan team that we've talked about at the beginning of the season being something that's a close contender for UNO. So it was good to see kind of how we were going to stack up against teams that were, as they'd say, on our level.
Yeah, absolutely right. And about 7 minutes into that first period, we thought that Zach Erdahl had the first goal of the game and the first goal for UNO, but it was called back for offsides. I went back and looked at the video. That was definitely the right call on that. But 12:22 into the first, Harrison Israels puts UNO up 1-0. It was a shorthanded goal. It was Harrison's first goal as a Maverick. Slipek did a good job setting that thing up, Jason.
Yeah, he was a leg horse there. He was the work one. Kind of driving that turnover and then, really starting the play into the zone. And Harrison saw the opportunity to drive the net. That's something that coming into this season, having him transfer in, we really expected him to kind of play a bit more of a net front role. I think the lines that he's been on, the setup that they've had, his responsibility has been a little bit different than what we've seen in Alaska. And he's just kind of adjusting to a new system. When you have a lot of new players, particularly transfers that have had, a year or 2 or 3, or in some cases 4 years of learning a different system, it's going to take time. And, I know fans struggle, hearing that. They saw the talent with Brady Risk and Harrison Israels coming in and thought that was going to be a big solution for us. And, I think they still could be. It's just, it's going to take time for them to get comfortable in our system and our setup and our environment.
You are absolutely correct. So it was 1-0 UNO after 1 period. Then in that second period, 5:44 into the second, Western Michigan's Alex Bump, a player I highlighted on last week's episode of the Mavpuckcast, ties things up 1-1. It was a defensive zone turnover for UNO. And then late in the second, 17:29 into the period, Western Michigan's Tristan Lemaire, who was a transfer from DU, gets the go-ahead goal to put WMU up 2-1. It was off of a rebound off of Simon Lacosi, so it's 2-1 Western after two. Jason, what did you think of that second period against Western Michigan?
That was a rough period. That was, the polar opposite of the second. It very much looked like Western made adjustments and we tried to play the same thing. Um, this team is not talented enough just to go out and steamroll, other teams, especially when you're in the NCHC and playing quality teams. And we had a lot of mental mistakes in that second period. There's a lot of passes and options. And I remember going through with some coaches in the past and we were talking about things, and it's like you really want your players to get to a point where they're reacting and not thinking. And UNO, especially in that second period, seemed to be thinking about everything. And that led to second guessing decisions that they were making, and then they're holding on to pucks too long. We got hemmed in our zone. Oddly enough, we take the puck behind our net to kind of reset that breakout, and then still end up hemmed in our zone. Because I just don't think they're confident in the decisions that they're making. And I don't know if that's a lack of confidence with the other players. That's a coaching thing for in the locker room. You should have a good beat on what that is, or if it's a system thing. They're just not familiar with the system. And last year we kind of had this. It was a little bit of a rocky kind of start, and we turned it on, and we had our best games and stuff in the second half of the season. And we're sitting here kind of hoping, especially after that second period, and we'll talk about the third, but after those two periods of hockey, you really kind of hope like we're going to move in the right direction here. And this isn't a sign of us just kind of being in the wrong place or moving in the wrong direction. So that
Yeah,
was rough.
oh yeah, absolutely right. And you mentioned the third period. There were no goals scored in the third period on Friday nights. UNO did have a good 5-on-3 power play opportunity, but couldn't take advantage of it. We went 0 for 3 on the power play on the night.
Yeah, that's going to hurt us. We've got to be more productive. A lot of that is shot selection. We've got to get pucks through. We've got to make the power play successful power plays. If you look at any level of hockey, they move the puck well, they move left to right quickly, and they make decisions to shoot before they have the puck. And it seems like I felt like on our power plays on Friday night that we were waiting until we had it to see what was available to us, and then shooting, right. And so I think from a power play perspective, they need more rotations. They need to get more experience with that. And there's enough talent there with the way that we've got those power plays set up, even without, as much as we all hate not having Tanner Ludke on the ice for a while, it sounds like here. There's still plenty of talent in this group that our power play we should be in the 22% range on our power play. So, yeah, it would have been big to get one. We made a flurry there at the end too. I think the last 5-6 minutes or so of that third period was probably our best play of the third period. We had some opportunities with the goalie pulled, and that it's kind of unfortunate sometimes. Pucks don't bounce your way, and you hit some posts and things like that. And so I think going into the next game, like you go away from that Friday game and you're looking at that saying like, hey, there's plenty of things for us to build on. We did some things well. We had a great first period. We have to find a way to kind of build on that momentum and not just kind of fizzle out into the second. And so that's what we're really looking at, moving from that Friday game into that Saturday game.
Yeah, absolutely right. There were a number of good opportunities, as you alluded to. Some of the shots went high, some of them went wide, some of them clanged off posts. So it's just one of those things. UNO was outshot 50-29 in that game.
That's rough. Like you can't. I don't care what the team is. You can't give them 50. You certainly can't give them 50. We really need to be holding teams under 30 shots a game, or somewhere around that 30 mark. And that's going to come down to puck possession. We need to hold the puck more. That second period, we really didn't. Our chances and stuff come off of rushes. When you're having trouble getting out of your own zone, you're not going to get too many of those. That's why we didn't have a ton of shots in that second period, and why we didn't really have a ton of shots until that flurry towards the end of the third. Um, we need to do a better job of controlling play, playing our game. Letting other teams come at us instead of us always having to come at them.
Exactly. We talk about that a lot. Sustained pressure in our offensive zone. And as you mentioned, going into that Saturday game against Western, we were hopeful. Western started freshman goalie Hampton Slukinski, which I talked about on last week's episode of the Mavpuckcast. So they started Cam Rowe on Friday and then the freshman on Saturday. I didn't know if they do that once they got into conference play, but they did start the talented freshman, and he had a pretty good game. But 21 seconds into that game on Saturday night, Jason, WMU's Tristan Lemaire puts the Broncos up 1-0. Boy, that's a tough way to start a game when you give up a goal in the first minute of play.
Yeah, you have an entire game plan, and it's out the window when you're having to come back from a deficit so early on. And and it would be one thing if it was just that goal, and then we went back to our play, and we just kind of dug ourselves a little bit of a hole. But they really seemed to grip their sticks tight, and they started, like I said before, thinking a little bit too much. And that first period on Saturday looked a lot like the second period on Friday, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely right. 4:25 into the first, Western's Eero Hakkarainen, who sounds like a character from Frank Herbert's novel Dune, puts the Broncos up 2-0. It was a 2-on-1 opportunity there for Western. So yeah, a tough position for UNO to be in, but they didn't give up. 15:03 into the first, UNO's Jacob Gavin narrows the lead on the power play. He shot that thing from out at the FNBO logo.
Yeah, he was practically blue line on that. And but going back to the power play conversation, that's shot selection. He gets that puck. He knows that he's got to get it on net. He knows exactly when he's delaying. Like, you can tell when it's coming to him before he even gets the puck. That Gavin's looking for a screen in front to get set up. And the minute the guys kind of do that like high-low cross in front, he lets it go. Especially with a freshman goaltender, a young guy that hasn't seen at least a ton of play like that. You're testing his eyes. You're testing his ability to track a puck through traffic, where you're getting glimpses of something and not seeing it all the way through. And those are the kinds of decisions that are going to, help us going into the rest of the season and stuff, is to start, knowing what you're doing and just execute on that. And it was a great shot, top corner too. So it was a laser from way up there too, which was a commendable by him.
The game was scoreless in the second period, so it was still 2-1. Western Michigan after two. And then the third period, 2:06 into the third, Western's Tim Washy puts the Broncos up 3-1. It was tough. It was just kind of an unforced error by Simon Lacozi with the puck behind the net, trying to clear that thing out.
Yeah, and it ends up being the goal that kills us, kind of thing. And those types of things, we've talked about it in past seasons. Those mental mistake things, those you make one mental error and it ends up in the back of your net, and those just always seem to be the ones that kind of end up coming back to bite you or killing you. And we mount a comeback, but we're just not able to get over the hill. And that's the hill. That's the top of the peak of the mountain that we couldn't get over, is that one unfortunate, mental mistake. And, I don't want to call out just that one, because there were plenty of passes. Like, we were making tape to tape passes to Western Michigan. It's unfathomable, like why we were making some of the decisions that we were making, and how poorly we were turning over pucks. The guys as a unit, they need to get together, and we talked about puck possession. They need to take more pride and more responsibility in you know, protecting that puck and saying like, if I've got the puck, it's not going to anyone else. Like, I'll take it up myself if I have to, but the last thing I'm going to do is turn this thing over to the other team. Um, and it just seems like they almost maybe have too much of a comfort level with Simon and his ability to, even that. Like, I thought we were out of position to kind of help him out if he did make a mistake, right? Because we just assume like he's going to make some unbelievable save, if he makes a mistake with it, and when we make a mistake with it, like he's there to bail us out left and right. And it's like, I love that he's that strong of a goaltender, but I just don't know that it's reliable or it's good for us to expect that kind of reliability, long term from that.
Yeah, we definitely do not want Simon to have to face a shooting gallery every game this season, because that's going to be a tough row to hoe for him. Talented goaltender, but like you said, a number of mistakes, a number of just odd turnovers. It happened last or 2 weeks ago up at Mankato as well. But UNO did not give up. 11:34 into the third. UNO's Brady Risk narrows the lead to 3-2. Risk had the awareness to swat the puck in as it sat in the crease. Assist to Lurie and Bremer. Lurie had a wicked slap shot attempt that really set up that goal. And this was Brady Risk's first goal as a Maverick as well.
Well, and I think that goal comes from the first power play. You can see Bremer look to the point on that short side as kind of his outlet for support, and the defender's stick follows his eyes to that point. And once it did, Bremer knew that he had a seam to split over to Lurie, and that's the kind of quick decision making that I'm talking about, right? He knew what he was going to do. If he got the stick out of the way, he's going to make that seam pass. Lurie did a great job. He didn't take a lot of time to survey what's going on. He clearly had an idea of what the goal was here, what we were trying to do. And honestly, like, I was amazed that the guy made the save to begin with. And from our angle, I couldn't see the puck just sitting in there. But yeah, heads up, Brady down there, grinding it out low, and finds just a loose puck sitting there saying, here's the perfect gift for you. And like you said, they battled back. They played a good third period. They tried really hard. Again, opportunities just like Friday night that didn't go for us. We had chances to tie that game up. It's just we can't make mental mistakes early. We can't give ourselves a whole, a cleaner 60 minutes of hockey, and we might have come away with a win or two this weekend.
Absolutely right. Western added an empty net goal at the end of that game. They win the game 4-2. They sweep UNO in the NCHC series, and they get 6 points to start the NCHC race. So a tough weekend for UNO, but a few notes. UNO scored 2 power play goals in the Saturday night game, so that was a positive to see the power play working. We didn't give up any power play goals on Saturday night, so good special teams play. The last time UNO lost 6 games in a row was in the 2018-19 season, the season that we started this podcast, Jason. And I know that there were some people that season who thought the reason the team started off badly that year was because we started the podcast. In fact, I think I thought that. I was like, oh man, this is rough. Jason, what are your final thoughts on the series against Western Michigan to start NCHC play this season?
I mean, I think it's not the outcome any of us fans wanted, for sure. I'm with you there. I know I'm superstitious, so there's a lot of things that are going to change from, like, don't expect to see me in a jersey the next time we're at Baxter. I'm too superstitious. Like, it's not working. We're changing something. I don't know about our players, if they're that superstitious, if they're going to change things, maybe go back to a few traditions that they've walked away from. I'm not going to name what it is. Everyone who listens to the podcast probably knows what we're talking about. But they made some changes this season. Maybe we go back to the way the things were before until we start winning. I think the other thing that I'd say from a game perspective, digging deeper into the analytics, looking at like Corsi numbers and puck possessions and player rankings and ratings and stuff. And, it's interesting seeing both Friday and Saturday night, um, a significant portion of our top players are defensemen. And, a forward inks into the top three, and it's you know, third, fourth line, not one of the names that you would expect, right? It's not an Erdal that ekes into top players most productive from a puck possession standpoint, opportunities, golden opportunities, those high danger chances and stuff like that. To see that our top three on Friday night for high danger opportunities were all of our defensemen, it's like that's going to be rough. Our forwards need to find a way to be more productive to kind of take that pressure off of our defensemen.
Puck possession is something we don't talk a lot about. In other sports, you'll talk about time of possession, but in hockey, it's very important as well. The number of minutes that you can limit your opponent playing in your defensive zone is one of the keys to success, especially against a team that's got the firepower that a team like Western Michigan does. So you want to be able to limit those opportunities before they come. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of adjustments they make this week. But we've got to talk about our players of the week. Jason, who did you like as your player of the week for this series against Western Michigan?
I'm going to go with Harrison Israels. The shorthanded goal, I thought, kudos to him. But even before that happened, he has been, extremely reliable in the face-off dot for us. Probably one of our better face-off forwards and stuff over the first part of this season. I haven't really seen him when we were in Vegas and stuff. Seen him play to the level that I think, at least the level that I expected, probably the level that a lot of fans kind of expected. But you kind of see that things are starting to click. He's in position every time. I really like where he is on outlets, particularly. I'd like to see us hitting that a little bit more, giving him a first option out and things like that. I think that would help. That line and of course, like there's things that I would do differently with the way we have like players laid out and stuff. But, he was just one of those guys that all weekend, both games, I thought, he was extremely reliable for us and a huge asset on the ice.
Absolutely. Great to see him get his first goal. Like you mentioned, that pair who came to us from Alaska last season, Harrison Israels and Brady Risk. I really thought they were starting to get going this weekend. Both of them got their first goal of the season. It's nice to see. You and I got the chance to meet them for the first time at the dinner with the Mavs back in October, and they are just two really terrific guys. So we're excited to see him start to have some success. So that is a great pick. I've got to go with sophomore forward Charlie Lurie. This was his first game action of the season. He had an assist on that wrist goal. He had 4 shots on goal in the game on Saturday night. And you and I talked during that team scrimmage back at the beginning of the season how good he looked. And obviously it's hard to tell a lot from a team scrimmage, but he's a sophomore on the team, hasn't gotten a lot of playing time, but I'm glad to see him in the lineup, and I'm glad to see him taking advantage of that opportunity when he gets it.
Point per game player right now, so keep that up. It'll help a lot.
And I should also give a shout out to Simon Lacozia. He faced 86 shots this weekend, and he stopped 81 of them. So that's a fine job.
A lot of shots.
A lot of shots. So rough series, but we'll see how it goes this upcoming week. But we've got to talk about some things you missed at Baxter Arena. Friday was homecoming. And, actually, this weekend was homecoming at UNO. And we do not have a football team, so they always do it around a hockey series at UNO. The homecoming court was introduced, and I wanted to give a shout out because I thought it was cool to see Isaac Barkus, huge UNO hockey fan, was homecoming royalty this season. He's had a number of health challenges, and several years ago, he was adopted by the team. So fans, if you're not familiar with who Isaac is, if you've ever watched the post-game fight song celebration in the lobby, Isaac is the Isaac is the guy that in recent years, Nolan Sullivan carried out on his shoulders for that fight song celebration. So it's cool to see Isaac in a little different role during the UNO hockey games.
Yeah, I've seen him around the rink every once in a while, and so it's always fun seeing him and his family around and talking to them. Good people. There's good people all around Omaha hockey, and there's some of the crew. So congrats to him on being part of the homecoming court.
Saturday before the game was the UNO Alumni Association Maverick Fan Fest on Holland Ice. Jason, what did you think of the Fan Fest? They had snacks for fans, they had some games, activities. The UNO bookstore had merchandise on sale, which the shirt you're wearing, which I encourage you to get, it's a UNO polo shirt. And all of those little symbols, it's hard to see on the Zoom video quality, but they're all little hockey symbols. So I talked
Yeah,
you into getting it. Yeah. I don't know if Jolene
like
wanted you to get a new merch item, but I know how
yeah,
much you love golf. So I thought that'd be a great polo to have.
yeah. It fits right in with my loud personality, right?
That's right. So what do you think of the Fan Fest?
I thought it's good. It's always fun to hang out with other UNO fans and to have something sponsored by the university like this. I thought it was a good time. It always is, and so the trivia was kind of interesting trying to answer some of those things. And you and Jillian were working pretty hard on what was it, a crossword puzzle, I think.
Yeah, they had a trivia crossword puzzle. There was also a word find. There was a coloring sheet, but the trivia was really interesting. I did not know a lot of those things about UNO, so that was pretty cool. We had a fun looking that up and trying to guess some of those things. So yeah, great event as always. Terrific of the UNO Alumni Association to do this. And what I love about their events that they put on is that anybody can come. It's not just alumni who can come to some of these events that they do at Baxter Arena or on the road. So I know you guys have had a good time at them. We've had a good time at them. There was a lot of stuff going on this weekend, Jason. Saturday before the game, they had the player parent introductions. Always nice to see those parents out there on the ice before the game. I will tell you, UNO does not have a great record over the years on Parents Weekend. So I know that sounds kind of negatory, but it's one of those things we always notice as fans.
It's not surprising though. I think a lot of teams have talked about like as much as you want to do these special event kinds of things. I even think back to the days where they used to do, like NHL stuff will do hockey like fights cancer and things like that. But even in the days where they do those types of events and stuff where you try to engage the fans a little bit, the hard part is it throws your schedule, your routine off a little bit. And, so many hockey players are just so rigid in when they get to the ice and what they do first and how they do it. And so when you throw in an extra 20-minute break while we announce all the parents and stuff, as much as we all love it and want to do it and all the players want to do it and all that stuff, it just makes things different. And sometimes that's hard for teams to kind of get around. So
I know that there are a number of players, parents who travel in for each series that the team plays. So it's really great to see that kind of support. On Saturday night during an intermission, we also had the Omaha Athletics Hall of Fame inductees introduced. Included a number of key sports figures in UNO athletics lore, including former UNO goaltender Dan Ellis, an incredibly talented goaltender during his time here. Bridget and I actually, fun fact, we got the chance to see Dan Ellis play for the Nashville Predators when we were up in Detroit and took in a Red Wings game. So it was cool to see him. UNO had their annual awards brunch, which included the Omaha Athletics Hall of Fame inductees at the Thompson Alumni Center on Saturday morning. Bridget and I were honored by the UNO Alumni Association with the Jim Leslie Outstanding Service Award, and I've got my little plaque right here, Jason. This is very nice. Thank you. Normally, this is a dinner that they do. So, this was the first time they did this as a brunch during the day. It was really nice. I enjoyed it. They had a lot of breakfast finger food items available for people, very kind of casual environment. A number of our family members came. Bridget invited all kinds of relatives to this event. So that was really cool. I was really surprised with her sister-in-law and her family were there, and Bridget's brother and his family were all there. So that was pretty cool. And surprisingly, some of our fellow UNO fans, Ed and Barb Thompson, were there, and Todd and Laura Bean were there. Todd and Laura also knew Mitch Albers, who was a UNO basketball player who was honored. They knew his parents from back in the day. So that was very cool to be honored by the Alumni Association. So
That is a awesome achievement. So congrats to you guys. Well deserved.
Great organization to work with. And if any of you are ever interested in getting involved with UNO, the UNO Alumni Association is a great way to do that. They put on a lot of terrific events, and they could always use your help. So thank you, UNO Alumni Association. Bridget and I are really honored and really touched. And it was a very emotional thing having the former wrestling coach, a former UNO football player there. There were a lot of tears shed. It was something. I'll have to show you Mike Denny's speech that he gave because it was something else. It was 15 and a half minutes. Crazy. One other thing that you might have missed at the game, we were talking about this weekend, is UNO is having sponsored players on the team. So when they do the team lineup announcements at the beginning of the game, when they're getting ready to start the game before the national anthem, Nolan Krenzen is now introduced as the Menke family captain, and Simon Lacosi was introduced this weekend as the Yano and Cindy Mangiamelli goalie. What do you think of sponsoring players on the team?
I had no idea. Did you know they were going to do that?
No.
I hadn't seen anything announced about. So like when they said it, I was like, my mind was just like, what is going on? Like, I don't the what's a, who's a what what are we talking about? Like, I was trying to figure out what, like, I really had no idea. And I don't know, are they gonna wear a patch like NASCAR now too?
You never know. That would be kind of a interesting. I tell you what, I wonder how much it costs to sponsor.
To sponsor a player?
Yeah, we need to sponsor like Brock Bremer or something. And I would definitely, because I do have some Mavpuck.com patches around here, so we would definitely see if we could get that
Sewn onto the jersey.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I'll be interested to see how this goes going forward with sponsoring players. So I don't think they did this at the Augustana series, did they? Maybe.
No, this is the first I've heard it. Yeah. So I don't have the first clue. And I mean, if we can sponsor someone, like let's put the Mavpuck on something, right?
Yeah, we used to sponsor when the Blue Line Club did their annual awards banquet. There were a few years there where we sponsored the Newcomer of the Year award. And one of the players that we sponsored was Joey Martin back in the early 2000s. He is still going strong playing hockey in England. I think he had like his 600th point or something like it's crazy. So yeah, we would do the Mavpuck.com Newcomer of the Year award. So I'm assuming this costs a lot more than it costs to sponsor that award, Jason. But yeah, we want to figure out how to sponsor Brock Bremer because that would be amazing to see Mavpuck.com up there on the board. So we'll have to see if we can find out some more information. So stay tuned on the socials, and we'll see if we can glean any more details about this new thing that's going on with sponsored players on the team. And we'll have to see if they sponsor any additional players as the season goes on. But Jason, we've got to turn to our next series. It's on the road at Arizona State. We're going to be taking on the Sun Devils in Tempe, Arizona on November 15th and 16th. ASU is 3-6-1 overall. They're 0-2 in the conference. They got swept at Colorado College. Arizona State is led by head coach Greg Powers. He has actually been at the school since 2010. He led the program from club status to Division I status, which is pretty cool because a lot of times, like when Penn State moved from club status to Division I status, they hired a different coach. They hired Guy Godowski, who had a lot of Division I experience. So it's pretty cool that Greg Powers has been able to stick with them and has had quite a bit of success. He is 133, 154, and 23 since the program has played Division One hockey. So a good start for that program. This is their first year in the National Collegiate Hockey Conference, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they do. Some players to watch. This is really interesting. So I learned on Twitter that they only had 11 healthy forwards for that Saturday game at Colorado College. So one of their top forwards, Lucas Sillinger, who previously back in the day was a UNO recruit, he was out with an undisclosed injury for the CC series. He has 5 assists so far this season. He led the team last season with 11 goals and 37 assists, but some notable forwards for them were out. Cruz Lucius, a top get from Wisconsin in the transfer portal. He was out. Charlie Schoen, Cole Helm, and Bennett Shimek were also out during that game. So defenseman Tucker Ness had to play forward. He had to play up front. One of the notable newcomers to Arizona State this year is freshman Colin Potter. I mentioned him in our NCHC season preview back in early October. He comes from the U.S. National Development Program, and he's labeled as an elite skater. He has 2 goals and 3 assists already this season. In net, senior Luke Pavicic, who transferred from UMass Lowell, and junior Gibson Homer have been splitting time. Yeah, what do you think of this Arizona State team going in?
Uh, yeah, I mean, if they're banged up, that looks a lot better for us for sure. So, we'll see if they can get healthy in this week after that CC series. But, they're in a period of transition coming into a new conference. So, part of that is take advantage of that where they don't really know what they're getting into it, and part of that is also what do they got to lose? New conference, they're not expected to do well, so they're going to throw caution to the wind, and they're going to play probably a high energy system. So we better be prepared going into the desert, especially looking for a win in a long time for us. Um, but they're an experienced team, even if they've got a lot of transfers. I think there was like 10 or 11 seniors slash grad students on the roster and stuff. So those are guys that know how to play hockey, have been through this stuff. They know what it takes to win. So it's going to be a tough test for UNO.
So Jason, what's your prediction? I actually picked Arizona State to finish pretty high in the NCHC. I also picked us to finish fourth in the NCHC. So you just know kind of how these things go. But what do you think? How
Yeah,
do you
but I
think?
mean, let's be serious. If we knew Tanner was going to be out for as long as it sounds like he's going to be, we both probably would have, modified those predictions significantly. So, it's just one of those things. You've got to expect what you have is what you're going to have, and then you just need guys to step up when that's not the case, because you're always going to have some injuries here and there. And Arizona State sounds like they're dealing with the same thing of who's going to step up and be ready to play. And I think fans need to realize too, like there's a big difference if you're an NHL fan, and you hear, your favorite NHL team, player A, B, or C or something is out with an injury for a few weeks or something. You're always going to hear so and so's been called up from the minors. There's no minor team here. There's no one that we can just go at and say like, hey, we're going to bring you up from, I don't know, the Lincoln Stars or something like that. That's not the way this works. And so these guys have to come together and say, this is the team that can play. And like you said, sometimes that means a defenseman's going to play a forward role of some kind. And so we'll see. I mean, banged up, I think both of us are struggling a little bit on the injury front. Um, I think it's going to come down to really which team can handle that better and find production maybe where there isn't. I think that the experience of Arizona, the excitement of NCHC at home, I think that's going to propel them to at least one victory. I think we're going to get a split. I really think that Israel's and Risk coming together and starting to kind of find some consistency and I'm trying to like chemistry, commonality. Just I think they're really starting to find the game that we expected at the beginning of the season from them, and I think that'll really help UNO bounce back for if we do lose Friday, to find a win on Saturday.
And as you alluded to, and Coach Gabinet mentioned this in one of the post-game press conferences this last weekend, as it regards this team and the mindset of the players, no one is coming to save you. That's just kind of the long and the short of it. They've got to do what I always talk about: play meat and potatoes hockey, that good, fundamental, sound hockey, crisp tape to tape passes, good puck handling. Those things are going to make a huge difference in this weekend series. It's going to be interesting to see what the injury situation is for Arizona State, whether they get some of those forwards like Lucius and Sillinger back in the lineup against Omaha this weekend. That will tell a lot, but regardless, UNO's got to be ready to play. And like you, I'm going to pick a split this upcoming weekend. Just to be different, I'll say we win on Friday and we lose on Saturday. But it'd be nice to get some positive results, get 2 or 3 NCHC points out of this upcoming weekend. We'll just have to
Well,
see.
and I think too how we win matters too. We haven't really addressed this in a while, but our wins this season have come in close games and overtime and um in the tournaments and the odd situations and stuff. If Omaha comes out and really puts up Friday, like you're saying, is going to win on Friday, and they really just wallop them. We win 6-1 or something like that, where like it's just a dominant performance. I think that goes a long way in motivating and prepping this team that they can do it even without Tanner. We're not like a one man show kind of thing. And so I would love to see that. And I hope you're right. I hope that not only do we get the win, but if we're going to get the win, that it's a big win. It's a motivating win. And that might be the momentum that they need to kind of find a sweep even on the road.
Yeah, that would be great for the team's psyche. So hopefully they can get it done because as you alluded to, we've played in a lot of 1 goal games this season that are these low scoring games. And those can be tough. A lot of times those games are a flip of the coin. So it comes down to one little mistake, one little mental error, and that can be tough on the psyche of any
Yeah.
team at any level. So those games, as I mentioned before, will be November 15th and 16th, Friday and Saturday. Friday's game will be at 8 p.m. Omaha time, and Saturday's game will be at 6 p.m. Omaha time. I mentioned that for our Omaha followers. You can listen to the games on 1290 Coil in Omaha or online on the Varsity Network app. Mike Valancourt and Terry Leahy, as always, will have the call. You can watch the games on NCHC TV. Jason, you can watch the games on NCHC. So there's no weird streaming package that you have
Love
to
it.
watch. Yeah. So it's nice that they're in the conference now. And of course, be sure to follow Mavpuck on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find links to all of our social channels on mavpuck.com, as well as back episodes of this podcast. But until next time, Jason, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.